All right. You're watching the Power Hour. I'm your host, DJ Larry Jones, and today we'll be discussing different body types, different diets, and all sorts of stuff. All right. Joining me again today is the one and only Dr. Heather. Heather, how are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, doing very well. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. We're going to be discussing a few things today. But last week, we left off with smoothies, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were going to talk
Yeah.
about smoothies, so I want to pick up from there. You know, what defines a healthy smoothie, and how is it different from a regular smoothie?
Yeah. So with healthy smoothies, it's best to have fresh fruits and vegetables in a smoothie. Obviously, if that's not realistic for you, like limited grocery shopping, you can do frozen still, but you just want to limit like how much sugar. So it's better to add more things to naturally sweeten it, if that makes sense. Or if you're going to do sugar, you want to do some sugar supplements and not too much of it. Like some people will use honey, agave, and you can add protein as well. And you also want to make sure you're being aware of your protein and what's in your protein also. Those are the main things to look for.
Right now, when I do my smoothie, I don't add any sugar.
That's good. Really good.
I add zero sugar. I put blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, bananas, and I put a protein powder in there with some kale and spinach, and
Mhm.
I blend that up, and that's me. I add no sugar to it.
That's awesome. And you said you did juicing as well, too?
Yes, juicing as well. The juice, I don't juice as much, but I do my smoothies on a regular every morning for lunch. I mean, for breakfast and then lunch. And I lost a few pounds. I lost about maybe 4 or 5 pounds. Feel pretty good. So it does work. It does work. Now, are there any specific ingredients that should always be included in a smoothie?
You know what? There isn't really, just because each like fruit and vegetable has their own benefit. But when you talk about like the benefits of smoothies in general, like you're getting a lot more nutrients because you are combining a lot of very healthy things and making it easy to digest. And all the fruits, a lot of them, and even vegetables like celery, have a lot of water in them. So you're
Right.
boosting your hydration and you're almost doing like a detoxification too of your body. Obviously, you have to be careful not to like juice for days or juice for every meal,
Right.
depending on your body type, because I know that is sometimes a fad diet. But doing that can actually help it make it easier to digest. And you get a lot of antioxidants and nutrients, and it can increase how much fruits and vegetables you're getting if you lack it in other areas of your diet.
Right. I want to go back to protein powders. What's the best protein powder to put in a smoothie?
I have to say that varies per person so much because I know like you can do obviously whey based proteins. You can do soy proteins. There's a lot more on the market now that are more like pea proteins and things like that, because there can be concerns for different body types. I know a lot of men want to stay away from soy for different reasons, and then whey can be better for building muscle, and then a lot more like vegan protein powders and things are going to be more towards that pea protein style. But it really is your dietary preference with that is the biggest thing. And then what your goals are from like your fitness level. Like, are you trying to gain muscle and go to the gym every day? And do you need to increase your protein and make sure that you have more energy throughout the day? Or are you just doing it to maintain? Or if you're cutting versus bulking phase of your workouts, it really varies for that. So that one's different per person.
Right. Right. I use whey protein. I just like whey protein. I hadn't gotten back in the gym yet. I need to, but we'll see what happens with that. I have to get it up here first.
Yeah, definitely. Gotta have the
Yeah.
motivating factor.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, can you tell us about the concept of body types and its relation to diets?
Yeah. So what I can do is kind of tell you about the different like fad diets and things like that and kind of relate it to like who it might be good for and things like that. So obviously there's like Mediterranean diet where it's based on like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, fish, nuts, olive oil, and then you're limiting those processed foods. That's really good for lowering like if you have high sodium levels and things like that, or if you have high cholesterol,
Hmm.
that can be something that it's really good for. Or if you have anything heart health related, like if you have any cardiac condition, that can be really good for that because it excludes meat and sorry, it excludes like red meat and things like that.
Right.
And then other big diets are like vegetarian, being vegan, and those are excluding meat and all animal derived products and things like that. And so that does help reduce your cholesterol. And it can help reduce how much processed things are in your diet and hormones and things like that. So it can be a lot more like clean cut, like you know what's in your foods a little bit more. Um, but with that, it's very strict and limiting. So sometimes that doesn't work for people that work a lot or things like that, and you aren't able to meal prep or you have limited time to meal prep and things like that. So that can be really hard for people who have limited options food wise.
Right. It's extremely hard to do that because I'm supposed to be on a Mediterranean diet. And,
Hmm.
and I haven't followed it like I should. So I'm really just getting back into it. So I suggest anybody watching who has to be on a Mediterranean diet to kind of get on it and stick to it. It definitely works, and it definitely is important to be on it. Now, is there any specific diet that works for all body types, or is it everyone different?
It's everyone different. And the best way for you to kind of figure out what works best for you is I like to look into like your family history of like what health conditions run in your family because like that is good to think of like what do you want to avoid getting later in life. So like with the Mediterranean diet, if you have a history of heart disease in your family or any cardiac conditions, that's always a good one that you can implement for prevention purposes. But then also like you want to look at your environment too. And then also you can look at when you've gone to the doctor. I know some people are very scared of going to the doctor, but you can look
Yeah.
at the lab work too to base it off of that. And then go off of your body type, like your body build. So if you are obviously more on the thinner side, the thing is you're going to want to have more calories and you can check like your BMI or body fat percentages to make sure that you're staying within normal range so you don't get underweight or overweight. And then we want to make sure to prevent that obesity because it's a huge issue in especially the United States.
Yeah, definitely. Is it possible for somebody to change their body type through diet and exercise?
Of course it is. Yeah. You'll see it all the time. So you can change your body type when it comes to like your body weight and your overall build. You might still have similar figure and shape, but yeah, you can definitely change it. And it just takes a lot of time and effort sometimes. And not everyone has the same path. Like it can be harder for those who have any genetic predispositions that make it a lot more difficult, but you can do it with the right amount of motivation and work.
Right. Let's talk about motivation for a minute. A lot of people think about it, they talk about it, but just not motivated to get started. And it can be pretty hard to get started. When
Mhm.
I hear a lot of people say, "Well, you know what? I'm going to start going to the gym. Next week is going to be my the first day back in the gym or whatever." And it just can't seem to get that fire.
Yeah.
And I believe to me, and I'm no expert at it, but I believe to me, it's what we're eating. Now, when we say, okay, I'm going to go back to the gym and that motivation isn't there, think about what you ate the night before because a lot of that comfort food can weigh you down and just you're not motivated to go. You just want to relax. You just want to go home from work and just relax. So
Mhm.
if you change your diet and eat to live, not eat to be full and stuffed or anything like that. Eat to live. Put the right things in your diet. You would get more energy. I believe you'll get. Well, I know you'll have more energy to get up and go to the gym and go work out and do. Even if you don't want to work out, you'll have more energy to do whatever it is you want to do. What do you think about that?
I completely agree because actually you can change a lot more about your body through diet Exercise helps on top of that. But
Yeah,
the thing is, like, if you're eating better, you're going to feel better and you'll feel better physically and mentally. It impacts both aspects and so many other aspects of your life that you can be more motivated to obviously feel like you can work out and get to the gym. And when it comes down to it, people don't like change. So, going to the gym for the first time or being nervous or you're not used to using the equipment, that can be the hardest thing to get people in the gym. But everyone there is welcoming, and don't be afraid to ask questions and things like that, because they also have trainers that are willing to do free consultations so you can get an idea of how to use the equipment too. Or you can sign up for more lessons with them. But
right.
everyone there has the same goal to improve themselves, and you'd be surprised by just asking how helpful people can be.
Exactly. You know, when I first got into the gym, I started walking on the treadmill and the elliptical. That's all I did, worked on my cardio. I didn't know how to use any of the equipment. So what I would
Mhm.
do is I would just walk the treadmill and I would watch the guys lift and see how to use the equipment. And I would just be walking on it. Just my eyes would just be darting around the gym. And I said, okay, I'm gonna start with chest and I see what he's doing with that. And I go and that's how I figured it out, you know.
Mhm.
So, people have ways to get it done. But the best way is to get with a trainer when you get there so you can do it right and do it safely. I want to get into fad diets. What exactly is a fad diet?
Okay, so fad diets can be tough, but fad diets are basically like popular diets at the time, and it's diets that people try out and kind of sample for short periods of time to get like quick results. Um, but that is where it can be a little bit tough because not all diets are for everyone.
Right,
Everyone's so different and comes from different backgrounds and different lifestyles, different body builds, different things going on mentally, because your diet can help with your mental health too.
yeah,
So it's hard to pick just one thing that works for everybody. So fad diets can be a little bit hard because people go in, they want to do this for like a month or three and see results, and they might not, because it might not be what works best for them.
right. Yeah, and it doesn't happen like that. You'll feel it before you see it.
Hmm.
You'll definitely feel it before you see it. And what kind of workouts do you do? Do you go to the gym? We never talked about that.
Yeah, so I do go to the gym. With my gym, I kind of prefer doing about like 3 days a week, depending on how busy it is. And then I actually play indoor soccer because I used to play soccer in college. So I'll play that once a week. It's Thursday nights. And so that's kind of like my cardio. But otherwise, I prefer to do more weightlifting because I'm on the thinner side. And so I'm actually trying to gain weight and gain muscle. So,
Right. So what's your diet consist of?
yeah, so my diet is actually high in protein. I am trying to drink more and more water as I
Mhm,
can just because I feel like I'm more chronically dehydrated and I can
mhm.
tell from the effects on my skin. So in the morning, I'm not a huge breakfast person. So I
Right,
actually start with what an AG greens is. It's like a green shake that helps me get my fruits and vegetables
right.
because I want to supplement it and make sure I'm getting enough.
Mhm,
And then I drink that, and then I start with a heavy protein shake. And then my lunches are usually like salmon and rice, and then I'll throw mixed vegetables in there. And I do it very like simple, like salmon just seasoned. I don't add too much like salt and
right.
different sauces or things like that. And then my dinner will vary depending on if I'm like hanging out with friends or family. So I'm a little bit more flexible on that. But I'm actually primarily gluten free and dairy free because I was having a health condition where they were worried I was going to have a thyroid
Mm,
autoimmune condition. So I'm doing that to make sure that I don't have that. Because once you have an autoimmune condition, you have to deal with it for the rest of your life. So
yeah,
that's preventative.
right. What do you think about milk and dairy products?
Yeah. So based on what I've learned through nutrition and through my dietitian, because I have a dietitian, um, it can be very helpful for some aspects, but some people have a hard time processing it through their body and digesting it. So that is the only issue. It's one of those things that you almost have to see how your body handles it. because some people aren't affected and they're getting a lot of nutrients, protein, and fat from that, and vitamin D. But then other people, it can be a little bit harmful for them.
Right. Now, fad diets. What advice do you have someone who's considering trying a fad diet, something for the moment?
Yeah, so if you're considering a fad diet, I would just recommend do some research because there are so many different ones that are out there. So you can basically get an idea of what each diet is for, like why people go on them and the benefits of them and who they recommend doing having that diet. And then I would just be careful and look into like the pros and cons of the diet before you do it because you might get one benefit, but then you might have these other things that you're like, oh, I didn't realize it was going to cause this. So a lot of the times that'll happen with like dietary changes. You have a really low energy. So
Hmm.
just want people to be aware of that, especially if you're going like low protein or low carb and things like that. You might have less energy.
Right. And like we said last week, knowing your body, you have to know your body and what it feels like, and pay attention to that. Because like when you change your diet, if you feel weak and things that doesn't feel right to you, then you're not doing something right.
Hmm.
So you want to put the right things in your body. Once again, Dr. Heather, I thank you so much for joining me on this show. It's always a pleasure having you on. You're
It's
watching the
great to
Power.
be here.
Yes, always, always. And you'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen,
Of
she will
course.
be back next week. Make sure you watch the Power Hour right here on Soul TV.